I start the talk, I would like to thank my collaborators, both at University of Toronto, as well as the United Nations SPARC office, especially the director of SPARC office, Dr. Norman Fowler. And this work was supported by many organizations, both Canadian as well as global organizations. So, what are the atmospheric challenges today? Basically, we are always talking about climate change. Sorry. We are always talking about climate change, but in atmospheric physics, we are dealing with three major issues. So, the first one is air quality. This is a picture of downtown Toronto, and you can see the power generation on the harbor. Basically, air quality is something that we are dealing with it in a day-to-day basis. The next one is climate change. Basically, this shows a picture of a flood in Fiji, and you can see that the consequences, the scope and scale of damages basically can be much greater, but in a longer time scale. And the third one is stratospheric ozone. We heard so many things in news about ozone hole and basically the fact that skin cancers are on the rise, especially in southern hemisphere. So let's start by air quality. This shows a very familiar picture to Torontonians from downtown Toronto. You can see the GO trains. And this is not a bad, resolution photo or a gray photo or fog. This is a smog, and this is in June 2006, year 2008. And you can see that layer of haze. Basically, it's something damaging to our lungs and our health. Air quality, basically, it's a man-made issue, most of it. And is mainly considered local to regional. We are talking about the air quality index of Toronto or the air quality index of Southern Ontario. We are not talking about air quality in Canada. And then we have several forms of air quality. We have smog and excess ozone. I just talked about not having enough ozone is bad for our health. But I was talking about ozone in upper layer of the atmosphere from 10 to 50 kilometers. This ozone is ozone at the surface, so around us, and this is bad, and basically it's a poisonous gas. And then acid rain, basically sulfuric acid and HCl from power generation and industrial activities. And brown cloud. Brown cloud shouldn't concern us in Canada, but in major areas in southern East Asia and in Africa and China, basically that makes a very serious health issue and air quality problem, because basically from in complete combustion or wood fire, especially in Africa, we get this particulate matter in the air, and then they get in the air and stay there in humid air from January to March, April, and it's very damaging. Air quality is controlled by a variety of protocols and agreements from municipal level up to federal level. And the good thing is that basically because it's the extent is local or regional, we can see a good visible return as soon as we put an investment to it. So if Ontario starts banning coal power plant today, in 3 months' time we are going to see the effect. And air quality impacts our lifestyle. Basically, if we don't have a high air quality, we are facing air pollution. And all of us are affected by air pollution. From babies, basically, there are research that the mortality rate in babies increase as the number of days in excess surface ozone to basically adults with asthma, with cardiovascular diseases. And then as we go to older generation, basically in small smog days, they can't leave their places. What's a smog? Basically, we need ozone and sunlight and basically volatile organic compounds, compounds that have carbon in it, like soot, and then nitrogen oxides, basically from in urban areas, comes from cars. And then we make a smog. On the other hand, there are fine particulate matters, basically the 10 micron in diameter and 2.5 micron. In Ontario, basically the PM10 is in the air. There is no regulations for that. So where does the pollution come from? For us, I don't know how can you, is it obvious? Basically, this is Toronto. So all pollution comes from southern Ontario, from all those manufacturing activities, and from eastern part of the United States, basically the industrial part. So they are produced by human activities. The European side, basically, it's in Western Europe and now more and more in Eastern Europe. And then in China, we have these kind of industrial activities. We have some natural sources like forest fires and basically wetlands, trees, and volcanoes that they generate some of the sources, some of the pollutions. But in general, wind transports the pollution. So they come to Toronto and then get transported to Greenland. This is on, so that's off. Latitudes to the Arctic region. And the fact that these days, basically Inuit people in Canada, they are facing lots of issues with the air pollution, which are not their issues. Basically, we generate the pollution and transport towards them. In Mother's Milk, in Iqaluit and Northwestern Territory, they found the highest amount of lead. And basically, as we continue, air pollution more and more becomes a climate change issue. It's not air pollution only, because we transport the pollution to the polar regions, and then they, soot like black carbon, or on the other hand, the volatile organic compounds. They get coated on the ice crystals, and then they stay in the air. Basically, this is like Arctic haze. And when the sun returns to polar regions in the beginning of spring every year, we are facing this problem. And because it's like a hazy layer on the top of the surface of the Earth, it modulates the amount of sunlight. And it changes the Arctic climate. So it's not anymore an air pollution problem, it becomes a climate problem. I'm going to touch on the polar regions, because later on in the talk you are going to see that how important the two poles of the Earth are for our life.